So what do I mean with people skills? Right, because you've probably seen my channel name, it's Sales Strategy. So a big part of it is going to be about sales, but a lot of the time salespeople tend to forget that it's not just about techniques and tactics to get a sale, or thinking in terms of like intro, discovery, pitch, close. All of that is fine, but if you forget about general people skills, then in my opinion you're not making the best out of your personal development and your sales as well. So people skills, it's what I mean personally with that. It's going to be something to improve your sales, but also for your personal life, your relationships, and in the broader context of business as well. So that's what I mean. And how is this different from what's usually taught in sales? Well, most of the time, I'm not saying everywhere, but if we look at people like Jeremy Minor, right? Or we look at people like Zig Ziglar to some extent, even though he's really great. But even if we look at Zig Ziglar, or if we look at Joe Girard, like all these salesmen, they teach you great techniques that you can apply directly for sales. But the reality is, definitely do that because you're going to get a lot of leverage by that. But it's my opinion that you also need people skills like in a broader context, because that's gonna, when you're on a sales call, that's gonna make you seem more genuine, right? So, compared to if you're just reading a script, if you can sit in the interaction in a way where things can flow naturally, then I think that's a great advantage you can have. And the prospects, they will feel it, right? They will feel that, you're not just there doing a flow chart like ABC, but you're actually trying to have a personal interaction with him, a human interaction. So in my experience, that can really make a difference, because whenever I tend to forget about that, and when I just go in my head and when I just think about a flow chart, even though the flow chart might make a lot of sense, when you lose that personal connection, in my experience, people tend to shut down and they don't want to share things about their situation. They don't want to share things about their business or about themselves. So I actually think people skills are the foundation, and if you don't have that, then you won't be even, no matter how many sales techniques you won't be able to close good deals. So you always need that foundation, and then the sales skills can be a good leverage on top of that. There are also people that teach this. If you look at Josh Lyons, which is used to be the closer of Alex Hormozi. He has a more holistic way of going about this, but he is one of the most expensive trainers as well. So if you have the money, I'm personally, I would like to do his coaching, but yeah, I think it's 3 or 5 or even 7K per month. So it's quite expensive for beginners, right? But if you have the money, it's something I personally consider doing. But anyway, I think I do have the foundation, or at least the foundation that I have is what I learned from cold approach. Well, to a big extent, because when I was in cities here in Belgium, trying to approach strangers, that gave me a lot of confidence in myself. It also made me understand like people and interactions more. So that gave me a lot of my foundations and my people skills. You know, also like the 20 years I lived before that, of course, but those are like 7 or 8 years that I really focused on that. And really created a lot of like exposure and more understanding on that level. Now that's not to say that, you know, that was like all great, because there's a lot of difficult things that I learned. But at the end of the day, it does make you wiser. So I think that that's what gave me my foundation, and it's also what gives me the motivation to then go into sales. Like personally, I'm not the smoothest salesperson, because you know, you even see like the way I'm speaking right now, stuttering and things like that. But like I do have understanding of like human interaction, right? So that's important. And that if you do stutter a little bit, like you can still make things work if you have the understanding on the right level. Of course, the best thing is to be smooth, but for me, that was always like a difficult thing to learn. Also, I think it's not directly in line with my personality, because I'm someone, when I say something, I want it to be like accurate and right. So if I would create like things smoother, even though I try that, then I feel like I have to sacrifice accuracy. So I would rather have the things that I say land than create just a smooth interaction where my words don't have weight. But that's not, you know, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to be smooth. It's just me explaining why I had some, why this was difficult for me to achieve that. But yeah. So this is a little bit about that, a little bit about how people skills will help you in sales, because it's not just about techniques. It's also about learning to have like a good human interaction, a good conversation with people, with your prospects. So, you know, I guess remember that. I know like this wasn't the smoothest video, but I hope you guys maybe learned something, or maybe it gave you some cool ideas. Check out my next video if you want, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good one. Cheers.